Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. So, first of all, I just want to say that I am so full, I am just so honored and so full of joy to be standing with you in this space. Over the past few days, I have learned so much, not just about the people in this room and about our current state of education, but about myself. And so this has been such a powerful experience, and I'm so excited to be here with you, talking about how to be still you, still leading, even during tumultuous times. And it's so interesting based on what she just said about girls, because I feel that as women, we struggle with those same things. So I'm like, where was girls lean in when I was in middle school? Like, I could have used that, right? And so a little bit about me. I taught kindergarten and first grade. Right, for elementary people. I was a data analyst testing coordinator, an elementary literacy specialist, an assistant principal, a principal, a K through 12 district literacy coordinator, at which time we made the seismic shift from balanced literacy to the science of reading, and I lived to tell the story, talk about being on fire with that. And now I am a national senior education advisor with Lexia Learning, and what I do is I engage in conversations around literacy. So I provide subject matter expertise and thought partnership around educational initiatives, literacy challenges, and large-scale implementation of structured literacy practices. But more important than all of that, I too am the mother of an only girl. Yes, and so we talked about that. And so where's my mom who was struggling with her child going off? So let me tell you this. I always say that I'm a better person because she exists, but, and it does not get easier, but you do get stronger. And so you really should just lean into those spaces. I remember her going off to college and first job and heartbreak and all the things. And so each season has its own like different joy and like different hardship, and you just have to learn to embrace them all, but you will thrive, okay? I promise, I promise. And so I want to talk about this quote. Education is a human right with immense power to transform. I love this because not only is this my true north, but this is why we do what we do, right? We've seen the statistics about kids and what happens and poverty rates, right? And incarceration, and also just their well-being, and what does the trajectory of their life look like if they cannot read by the end of third grade? And so every single person in this room has the ability to change the world and rewrite the future for those kids by empowering them with a great education. And so I just applaud you, and I'm so, again, honored to be in this space because everything that we do matters. And so I want us to take a quick grounding, have a quick grounding activity. Danielle's gonna come around, and she has a checklist of things. We've talked about all the things that we're struggling with in this VUCA world, in the current state of education, all the mom things, everything. And this is just a quick inventory. So it's not for you to fix or figure anything out. I just want you to take a moment, go through the checklist, and think about what is it that you're wrestling with right now? What are all the things that are swirling? What is everything that is on your plate? I loved when they talked about SEL being the plate, and that was so powerful for me because I've always tried to think about like, where does that fit in? And even when we're talking about wholeness for us as like women, what is that? And so I think it's very important. So I'm gonna be quiet, and I'm gonna give you 2 minutes to go through this checklist and just check anything that you are experiencing or dealing with right now. Raise your hand if you checked at least 3 things on the list. 5 things? 10 things? 20 things? Wow. That's a very, very full plate. Those are all the things that you're dealing with, not only as a leader, but just as a human, right? In our current state of the world that appears to be upside down, it's unstable. And so when you think about those things, how many of these things have you been leading quietly without applause? Okay? So this is what I want us to do. I want you to stand up. I want everyone to stand up. And we are going to take the next minute or so, and I want you to go around to someone in the room that you have not had an opportunity to speak with or be with. And I want you to look at that person, and I want you to say, "I'm so proud of you." Okay? All right. Okay, I'm so proud of you. If I could get everyone to come back, get back to your seats. And thank you so much for doing that. Now I have to hold it together because someone came up to me and said they were so proud of me, right? And so we do this work because we're compelled to do it. We're called to do it. Even though it is soul-crushing, it is all the things. We don't know how not to do it. And so it's so very important to be in a space where we can say to each other, "I see you. I see you doing the hard things, and I'm so proud of you." So, because we know there's pressure to perform, Bree talked about this study yesterday. And this is so very critical. And when I read it, I couldn't believe it. It's 140 survey respondents across these 37 states, and it speaks to the pressure that we deal with on a daily basis. And so if you get an opportunity, definitely go ahead and look at the brief. But basically, it says what we already know. It says what we've talked about over this entire week, which is, for us, there's a disparity when it comes to leadership, and especially between men and women. And so we struggle either with hypervisibility or invisibility, right? We struggle with all the pressures and all the things that end up impacting our health and our well-being and all of those different things. And it also causes us to lead from a different place. That pressure can impact how we show up in a space. So when we think about authentic leadership and who we are as people, has anyone ever felt like they had to mask or shrink in certain spaces, right? Or you become a control freak, and now you have to micromanage everything because there's someone else on the team or looking or whatever who doesn't understand how you lead. Jess, your mentor, like that's not quite the right way, even though this is who I fully am. And so how do we pivot and shift and shrink and do all the things to make sure that we can be successful, right? And still get around those barriers. And so I want you to think about something. I want you to think about your leadership journey, and I want you to pinpoint a time when you were the most proud of yourself and your work. I want you to think about that. Anywhere in your leadership journey, it could be 20 years ago, 5 minutes ago, I want you to hold that image in your mind. When were you most proud of who you are as a leader? Okay? And then I want you to think about another time where you felt detached and lost, and you couldn't really figure out who you were supposed to be, right? You may have understood the assignment, but not necessarily how to show up and be in that assignment. And I want you to think about those two versions of yourself, and then I want you to turn and talk at your table about what does it look like to lead from who you really are, even when it feels like the world is demanding something else. What does that feel like? And so I want you guys to turn and have that conversation now. Is there anyone who would like to share out? Is there anyone who would like to share? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, as a superintendent who led for 10 years, I really want to affirm those of you who are new in your jobs, because I think when you're new in your jobs, you're trying to learn the lay of the land. So you're taking the temperature, you're listening and learning, you're understanding who the players are, what your role is. If you're the superintendent, you're learning who your board is and how you're going to navigate and really develop those relationships with them that Christy talked about. As you move into the seat, and after year 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you can really lead as your genuine self, because people pretty well know who you are. And I will say for my team, they're comforted knowing that I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to have fair and equitable application of the rules. I'm going to be a straight shooter. And so they feel comfort in that. And so I think the longer you're in your role, you can really feel like you can be who you are and handle the uncomfortable conversations that may need to happen in order for you to constantly keep kids at the heart of the work.
Right. Thank you for sharing. Someone else? Okay.
One of the things that this made me think about, we were talking about, is I come from I was a social worker. I worked in human services and all the things before I came to education. So there's a lot of times that I am in this space, and it's hard for me to move beyond thinking that other people are judging me because I've never been a teacher. I've never been in that space, and really trying to be authentic, but my authentic self is not a teacher. So I waver back and forth with that, even though having this role, I feel like I'm competent in it, and my district is fine, everything's good, but there's still that piece in the back that always wonders if people are raising an eyebrow at the fact that, you don't know what it's like to teach a math lesson, and I don't. I've just never been in that space.
Okay. So first of all, that was so powerful. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being vulnerable with that, because I think there are a lot of us feeling like we're missing pieces. And what do people think about us in this space and that space? And what I will say is you are exactly where you're supposed to be, right? And you are bringing everything that your students in your district needs. And we're not all supposed to be the same. We're not all supposed to be the same, and that's the beauty of having a team. Maybe you haven't been a teacher, but I'm telling you, we need social workers in this whole everything. And so whoever you are, it is so critical and so important to whatever your organization is, to whatever we're doing here on the planet. And so please just lean into that. Is there anyone else that wants to share? I don't want to cut anyone off, because this is a time for you to bring your voice to the room. My friend over here? Okay.
Okay, this is really hard for me. So I'm not a typical educator as well. I'm a trained sociologist and demographer, and now I'm the chief of staff for a school district. And I started in cabinet 3 years ago, and I'm very positive. If y'all see me, I'm always smiling. And I like to call myself the hype woman, because our jobs are very difficult. But our superintendent's job is extremely difficult. And I've seen how much of her struggle, boundary changes, staffing changes, budget cuts, things like that, being vilified. I'm a very empathetic person, and I'm the fix-it person, right? I want to take care of our people. And one of my struggles have been with our cabinet members. Certain cabinet members are very rigid and authoritative in micromanagement. And I embody her style of leadership, which is like Jessica, relational, because, You might have tough conversations, but when people see that you're not doing things for them or to them, that these are the circumstances that we're living in, we can empower them even though there are difficult challenges ahead. And so for me, it's been difficult to try to bring that in to the rest of our team. And I'm excited about this year because Liesl and I are kind of the same mindset, because bringing someone in to show them that we're not a threat, we're not working against you, we want to work with you and for you so that we can carry on some of the differences that we might have, but that just makes us a stronger team.
Yes. Thank you for all of the courage and clarity and compassion in the room today. We definitely need that. And so here's something that I'd like you to know. And I promise you, I already had this slide in here before we had all the conversations about water. But if you are an ocean, be an ocean. Don't be a pond just because people can't swim. Okay? So whoever you are, however you got here, whatever you are, whatever you believe, whatever your true north is, be that. And it's not that we want people to drown, but our job as leaders is to coach them how to swim or get out of the water, right? So when I think about the power of authentic leadership, to me, authenticity means alignment. It's not necessarily about being raw and letting it all hang out. I actually am a very private person. I love people, but I have to feel safe first before I engage with people in a certain way. And so it's not about people getting to know the real me, it's about the real me being aligned with what's best for kids. And so if I'm in alignment with that and my actions match my words and all of that, then I'm being authentic, okay? And so if it's not raw, but rooted in self-awareness and clarity of values, then you have to know that you know that you know what your absolutes are. And sometimes we don't. Or sometimes we get lost with our school board, or our parents, or our families even, okay? And it takes courage to act consistently, based on what you just said. The first person that just spoke, I'm so sorry, who gave the advice to superintendents? Melissa, where you said, okay, so for the first however many years you have to do this, and then eventually you get there. But how many of us over time, it's like, okay, I cannot do this anymore. It's too much, right? The view is not worth the climb. And so, yes, I need to act consistently, but today I only have 30%. So whatever they say, I'm just gonna go with that because I need to get home on time. We have to have the courage to act consistently, like no matter what. And so how do we stay grounded in tumultuous times? When we were having the conversation yesterday and they were talking about the podcast and COVID, I'm feeling like this is 10 times worse than COVID. And I never in my life thought I would say that. I never thought that once I survived COVID that there would never ever be a period that dark ever, but I'm actually feeling that. And I don't know if you're feeling that. So how do we stay grounded? So first of all, you have to ask yourself, what would my truest self do here? And only you know who that is. What would your truest self do? You have to name your non-negotiables, okay? Even if the chaos is real, this stays true about me. Because we do have to shift and adjust and pivot, okay? It's not all about us, but even in those moments where you do have to compromise, you still have to make a decision about, of all the things, this is the thing that stays true about me. And you have to use your support circle. I wish I could take you all back with me and we could meet weekly and talk about these things. But authenticity grows in community, where you are able to say the hard things and the honest things and be vulnerable and lean on each other and say, hey, you know what, girl, I am so proud of you. That's where it grows. And you have to make a decision. What part of me do I want to lead with more often, even when it's hard? I can't do all the things, but I can say at least I'm going to be honest no matter what. Or I'm going to lead with compassion. Or I'm going to lead with data. I'm not even going to argue with these people. Numbers don't lie, you know? And so you have to make a decision about what that is. And so I love this quote. In the chaos of change, leaders who lead with authenticity become anchors, not by having all the answers, but by holding space for truth, growth, and resilience. And that also reminds me of the conversation, because there's been so many this week, of the administrator who had the 2-hour conversation with the person that she was letting go, right? So it's not just, well, budget, this position no longer exists. Thank you for your service. Goodbye. But that went a really long way. And that is where authenticity comes in as well. And so how do you do that? How do you create a safe space for your people to have the hard conversations, to wrestle, to do all the things, but to know that they're in a place where they can grow, okay? So I want everyone to stand up one last time. And I want you to repeat after me, okay? I want you to think about this experience, and I want you to channel it when you're back in those difficult moments and crucial conversations and uncertainty, all of that, the VUCA, when you're back in the VUCA world. So the first one is, I return to my true north, not what others expect. Okay. This moment is heavy, but I am not alone. I do not have to move fast. I just have to move forward. And even in the storm, my voice, my values, and my vision remain clear. Thank you so much, guys.